Hey guys, so today we're checking out the ReadyLift 2.5-inch front leveling kit fitting all 2011 and newer four-wheel drive F250 Super Duties. So if you're in search of an easy and affordable way to level out your truck that doesn't require modification, you're looking to create a better looking and more functional stance for your Super Duty, and you're also looking to mount up to a 35-inch tire, then this kit is going to be a great choice to check out. This kit by ReadyLift will do a great job at leveling out the factory rake in the front, which will help you even out the truck stance and also increase some ground clearance at the same time, making your truck a lot more functional in some off-road situations. Now when it comes to tire size, a 35-inch tire will fill the wheel well out very nicely while still having some clearance for a bit of articulation in your suspension. This will also just make it a great option if you're looking to upgrade to larger wheels and tires and you're looking for a kit that's going to accommodate up to a 35. The kit will come with everything that you need in order to get that 2.5 inches of lift in the front, including the two front spring spacers. You're going to get bump stop extensions, shock extensions. You will get a sway bar drop bracket, and also drop brackets for your brake lines, making this an incredibly inclusive kit for what it is. Now most of the components here will be made of a sturdy steel material, and the bump stop extensions will be made of a billet aluminum material, which will make them super durable and allow a long lifespan on your truck. They'll also all be covered in a black powder coat finish, making sure that not only are they protecting the materials underneath from any rust or corrosion, but of course they are going to match with the rest of your suspension components. Not to mention, it will come with all of the necessary hardware in order to install this and is completely bolt-on, so you don't have to do any cutting or drilling, giving this a pretty straightforward install. Now when it comes to price, this kit will come in at roughly $300, putting this in the middle ground when it comes to leveling kit pricing in the category. Now in comparing this to some other options that are available in the category, on one hand you'll see some more budget-friendly choices that will come with either just spacers or minimal components in the kit as to what you see here. Now on the other hand, some more expensive choices will usually either come with more components or they'll come with different solutions. So instead of a spacer lift, you'll be seeing some options that will come with taller springs, or they'll come with taller springs and shocks in comparison to this kit here. Now on that note, if you are a fan of what you see here, but you're looking for just a little bit more, we do offer this same kit with a track bar relocation bracket that is available on our page as well. Now with all of that being said, I think if you're looking for a little bit more out of a spacer lift to get that height on your truck, but you're not looking to go all out with changing up your factory suspension, then this is going to be an incredible choice. Now when it comes to install, like I mentioned before, it is pretty straightforward because you don't have to do any modification, but I still am going to give it a 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, just because you have to take a decent amount of your suspension apart in order to get this on. So that's going to make it roughly a 5-hour job with the proper hand tools, and one of our installers here is going to show you how to get this onto your Super Duty at home. So that's going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
Tools used for this install: 1/2-inch impact gun, 3/8 impact gun, 22, 16, and 13 millimeter sockets, 1/2-inch ratchet, 1/2-inch breaker bar, clip removal tool, long pry bar, short pry bar, 10, 13, 15, and 18 millimeter deep sockets, 22, 19, and 18 millimeter shallow sockets. Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to uninstall and install our ReadyLift 2.5-inch leveling kit on our 2018 F250, so let's get started. Hey guys, so we're going to jump into the uninstall here of removing our coil spring from our F250. First thing we're going to do is make sure we have our truck secure and safe. I jacked it up. We have it on a lift right now, but I do have a jack underneath the center of the rear, which you're going to need to do after you get it jacked up and supported, however you're doing that. If you're doing this in your driveway, you're going to want to use jack stands. So what I did was I have it on the lift here. I have a jack under the center of the rear to hold the rear up, because we're going to be loosening the suspension up so we can drop the rear down so we can remove our coil springs. So you want to just make sure you jack it up high enough when you put your jack stands under. That way you can get your jack in the center of the rear. And then we'll start removing our suspension here. We'll start by removing our brake hose, our shock, our sway bar, and then we'll be able to take our jack and start lowering the rear down. So let's jump into this and we'll start removing our upper bracket here for our brake hose. So first thing we're going to do is remove this 13 millimeter bolt here. I'm going to take my 3/8 gun with my 13 millimeter socket, remove this bolt right here. And once we get that bolt out and removed, we'll be able to drop the brake hose down. And you're going to want to repeat this same procedure on the other side, because it's going to allow us that both sides are going to have to be undone so that we can drop the rear out. So now we're going to remove our shock bolt right down here. I'm going to take a breaker bar with an 18mm socket and break this loose. It is on there pretty tight. And once I get it loose, I will take my 3/8 gun with my 18mm on, get in place. And then I'll ratchet this the rest of the way out. I'm gonna take my 1/2" drive now with my 18mm on it and just ratchet this out the rest of the way. So now we have that out. You're going to want to repeat that procedure on the other side too. And now we'll go up to our sway bar. So now we're going to remove our sway bar nuts right here. There's one here and then one right here. I'm going to take my 15mm, my 3/8 gun, loosen these up, then loosen the other side up, then we'll drop the sway bar down. So now you're going to want to repeat that on the opposite side. So now I have the other side disconnected too. I'm just going to pull our sway bar down. You're going to want to be careful. This thing can be a little bit heavy, but it should just fall down just like that, which will allow our rear to drop down then. So now we're going to take our clip removal tool. We're going to pop off this clip here. This is going to allow the rear to hang down. It's kind of pulling tight on this already. So I'm just going to pop this off. Pretty much like that. Get that out of the way. And then our vent tube on our rear here, I'm just going to twist and pull up and remove that. That will allow our rear to hang down when we start letting the jack down. So now we have everything disconnected, our shock, our front sway bar links on both sides. I have my shock removed on that side. I unhooked our connectors here for our vent tube. Our brake lines are disconnected. We're going to be able to take our jack and just start lowering the rear down. That's going to loosen up these springs and let these springs come out, and then we'll remove our springs. So now we have our rear drop down. We're going to be able to easily grab our spring, pick it up, and remove it right out of the location. So now that I have our coil spring removed, we're just going to look at our pad down here and notice that there is a notch right here where my finger is. This notch is where when we put the coil spring back in, you're going to want to make sure that the bottom of the coil rests down inside here so that you don't want to have it spun around because it is meant to seat in here so it doesn't spin. So just make sure when you put it back together, you put the bottom of the coil right into there. You'll see it fits right into that slot. So now we're going to remove our bump stop. I'm going to get up in here with a screwdriver, pry this baby out, like so. Now we're going to remove our cup that holds the bump stop in. I'm going to take my 10mm on my 3/8 gun, get up inside here. There's a nut, or a bolt, I should say, right here. We're going to remove that. Now you're going to want to just repeat this uninstall procedure on the other side. Okay, now what we're going to do is reinstall our snubber, and what's going to come in this kit is a spacer here that we have. As you notice, the plate here that the snubber bolts to has a little tab here that goes up into the frame, and this also has a little tab in it too with the spacer. So what you're going to do is want to put that tab into the spacer like that. And you're going to use the 10mm bolt with the flat washer that's supplied in the kit. And now what we're going to do is reinstall this up into our frame and then put our snubber back in place underneath. So now we're going to install our spacer for our snubber. And we'll get that started. So now we're going to take our 3/8 gun with our 13 millimeter. We're going to get up in here and tighten this back up. Like that. So now we have our spacer and our snubber holder, or our rubber bump stop holder in place. I'm going to take it and push it back into place here. Like that. Give it a twist. And that's reinstalled. Now you're going to want to just repeat the same procedure on the opposite side. So now what we're going to install is the little bracket that they give us for our brake line right here. I had to pull down on it a little bit. You're going to have to pull it down and just make sure it slides out of the bracket that it's held into up here to get it down. And you're just going to want to tweak it just a little bit like that. And then what we're going to do is reinstall this spacer adapter here to lower the brake line down a little bit. And how this is going to go in place is it's just going to go in like that. And then what we're going to do is take our bolt from behind with our flat washer that's supplied in our kit. We're going to put that in like that. Go and put it in place like that. So now we're just going to take our bolt with our flat washer nut, go in place like this with our bracket. Take our other flat washer and put our nut on in place like that. And we'll be able to take this bracket, put it in place there. You reuse our factory nut that we had. Oh. And we'll get that started. And you're going to have to just bend it around a little bit to get it where you want it. Pretty much like that. Now we'll take our 13 millimeter and start tightening up our bolt and nut here and our bolt up top here. Again, we're going to take our 13 millimeter on our 3/8 gun with my wrench. I'm going to get behind here, hold the bolt, tighten that up, and we'll angle a little bit here, put it on our bolt up here. Now we have that tight, what I'm going to do is just pull out on it a little bit. It's pretty easy bendable like that right there. And once we have that in place, you're going to want to just repeat that same procedure on the opposite side. So now we're going to install our shock extension bracket right here. They give you this bracket plus this bolt with a flat washer and this nut and a flat washer to install this onto our shock to make sure we have enough extension on the shock to go back down into our factory bracket. So we'll install this now. So now we're going to just slide this into place here, install our bolt, put our flat washer nut on the back side of it. And you might want to get a hammer, tap it into place. Kind of just wiggled it where it's got to go for now until we start jacking it up after we get our coil spring in. Now you're going to just want to repeat the same procedure on the opposite side. So now we're going to install our sway bar spacer. This is going to go just like this. You'll see it has a cutout hole in it like that. So you can get in to tighten the nut up, and then this nut goes here. This is just going to slide in place over top of our two bolts that are hanging down just like that. We'll put our nuts on, and then it supplies us with some bolts here that are going to come through this end of the sway bar spacer and drop down like that with the washers and nuts, and then we'll bolt our sway bar to this instead of actually bolting it to the frame. So let's go ahead and install this. So now we're going to install our spacer bracket for our sway bar. I'm going to take this up, put on our two nuts. These are our factory nuts that we took off. I'm going to stick this one on, get it started. So once I get them started, I'm going to take my 3/8 gun with my 15 millimeter and tighten these up. I'm going to do the same to this one. And now we're not going to put our sway bar up in place yet because we're going to put our coil spring back in and jack it up, but you're going to want to repeat this same procedure on the opposite side too. Now we're going to install our coil spring. We're going to take our 2-inch leveling block, slide it right on top of our rubber grommet there, and we're going to put our other rubber cup here on top. And now that we have that in place, now you're going to want to remember I showed earlier that there is a little nub here. We're going to take the coil spring, stick it in place. We might have to lower down the rear some more because we are adding the 2 inches to this. So we're going to take this, put this in place, get it into this nub right here, then get it back up in. Then we'll start putting our rear back up in the vehicle. So next thing we're going to do is reinstall our track locator bar. Now this is going to take a little finessing to get in. You're going to have to probably use a hammer, maybe a punch to center it up. So what I'm going to do is get it up in there, probably hammer it up in the rest of the way, and then use the bolt, a pry bar, and a couple other tools to get it centered so I can get the bolt back in. So now I'm going to put my bar up in place here. I put a little grease on the 2 ends. I'm going to take my hammer, tap this thing up in place. I'll just stick my finger in there and feel around, see if I'm close. Once you get it close, you can take a pry bar, put it in here. Pull it into place where you want it. And if you feel up in there, you can see where it's at. So you know where to move it around to. It's pretty close. Then what I'll do is use my bolt, hold on to something, and just wiggle my bolt around until I get it just like that to get it all the way through. I'm going to put my nut on. I'm going to take my 1/2-inch drive ratchet, my 30mm socket, my 30mm wrench, and we'll tighten this up. Now what you're going to want to do is look into the manufacturer spec. I think it's 200 foot-pounds, so this thing has to be pretty tight. You're going to need a torque wrench to really tighten this. Put your 30mm wrench on, put your torque wrench on the other side, and really tighten onto this to make this bolt tight. So now we're going to install our coil spring back up in its pocket. You're going to want to look down inside, see where the end of the spring is. Again, you're going to want to make sure you sit it into that groove. And as you can see, once you sit it up in place here, we're going to have to drop this down to get this in. We're pretty far off here as far as that goes. We have to get this hub down so we can get it in. So I'm going to lower the rear down some more to get this up into place. And then once we get this into place, we'll jack everything back up, and we should be able to start tightening our shock up and then go from there. So now we have our coil spring and we're going to put it up in place here. We have our spacer on. You're going to look down inside here. There's a little tab that you got to line up with the bottom of your coil spring to sit in place. And then we'll push the top in and get the top started. Make sure you got your boot here, rubber installed so that it goes down in the hole. And as you can see, we got our coil spring back up in here. Everything's lined up. This is down in place here. We're going to be able to take our jack and jack up, get everything in place, push this and compress this together, and just make sure everything stays in place so that when you jack it up, it gets right up in top there, and that goes right into place. So now we got our coil spring in place here. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure the other coil spring is in place on the opposite side. Once you get them both in, then you're going to want to jack the suspension up in one shot. That's how you get them out. That's how they come in. So now what I'm going to do is, now that I have them both in and they're both sitting in the pockets where they're supposed to be, I'm going to jack them up. That way our shock lines up with our bottom hole. Then we can stick that bolt in, and then we can stick and install our sway bar to our new extension bracket on the front. So let's go and start jacking this up and getting this back into place. So now that we have it jacked up in place, we're gonna just put our bolt in our bottom shock bracket here, make sure it lines up. And once we get it close, tap it into place. So now we'll stick our nut on the back side, get it started. And then we'll secure this into place then and get this bolted back up in and get our vent tube put back on. But first what we'll do is tighten this top bracket first to get the shock straight, then we'll tighten the bottom one. So I'm gonna take my pry bar, just wedge it in here a little bit, straighten our shock and our bracket out. You want it to point like that, straight up and down. I'm gonna take my 22mm wrench, my 22mm socket on my 1/2" drive ratchet and tighten this up. And again, you want to torque everything to manufacturer spec. Now we'll go down and I'll take my 18mm on my 3/8 gun, tighten the bottom one up. And again, you're going to want to use a torque wrench. Make sure you tighten everything really good and tight so nothing moves. So next we're going to just reinstall our breather for our rear. And now this line, until we get this jacked up, you're going to want to just put this into place. I'm not going to stretch it too far, but we'll get this in place once we get the rear back up in to where it is when it's sitting on the tires. If it doesn't reach because of the drop, I'm just going to tie it up with a wire tie and tie it so it doesn't dangle, it doesn't get caught. There's also a hose up here that it can get tied to, so I'm going to end up just tying it up to there. That way it'll keep it from getting caught on anything. So now we're going to take our two 18mm bolts that they give us in our kit, attach our sway bar, one on this side, and then we'll feed one up through here. Could be a little tricky to get your fingers in here, but we'll get them in like that. We'll take our flat washers and nuts and tighten these up and get these started. So now I'm going to take my 16mm wrench and my 18mm socket on my 3/8 gun and tighten our two sway bar bolts up. So now you're going to just want to repeat this same procedure on the opposite side, and that'll wrap up our install.
So that's going to wrap it up for my review and the install of the ReadyLift 2.5-inch front leveling kit fitting all 2011 and newer 4-wheel drive F250 Super Duties. For more videos and products just like this, remember to always keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.